A word of warning, this podcast explores graphic and disturbing stories and includes some strong language. It therefore may not be suitable for our young listeners or other folks who may find it disturbing. Hello and welcome to True Crime News, the podcast covering high-profile and under-the-radar cases from across the country every week. I'm your host, Ana Garcia. Our case this week, when rapper PnB Rock was held up for his diamonds and killed at a Los Angeles restaurant in September of 2022, people on social media, especially celebrities, blamed the rapper's girlfriend for posting a picture on Instagram, saying that by revealing their location, the thieves found him. First of all, it was a picture of chicken and waffles, but it was geotagged. Now, after a full investigation and a murder trial, we now know that the plot to steal PnB Rock's jewelry, he was wearing $500,000 in diamonds and luxury watches, was set in motion at least 40 minutes before that picture was posted to social media. It was a man in the restaurant who saw this as a crime of opportunity and contacted a father and son who police say would carry out this deadly holdup. The girlfriend is a victim. She was held up too. A gun was pointed at her head, and she witnessed the brutal murder of the love of her life, the father of her baby. He was killed in cold blood right in front of her. This podcast is about what really happened and setting the record straight. We are recording this on Friday, November 15th of 2024, and you are going to want to stick around toward the end of this podcast because you're going to want to hear our guests talk about what it was like to be friends and go to high school with Eric Menendez. Yes, our Alison Triessl, the famed criminal defense attorney, has very vivid memories of Eric and his family. Alison, of course, is a legal expert for Access Hollywood, also on KTLA TV here in Los Angeles. Alison is a dear friend of the show, a friend of mine. Alison, how did I not know that you went to school with Eric Menendez?
I had many encounters with Eric, including before the murders and after the murders.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And your high school picture, your 80s hair is fabulous. Oh. Fabulous.
Look, I am not that proud, but I will say things change over 35 years. That's all I can say. Now I'm a little bit more blonde and I'm less frizzy and less hairspray.
Oh my God, my high school picture is crazy. Whose high school picture? You know, anyone who looked fabulous in their high school pictures, I say, you never want to peak in high school, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I certainly didn't. So yes, I'm with you.
Well, we were going to get to that conversation later. I'm thrilled that you're here, Alison. I know we don't get a lot of time with you. You're so busy. So I'm just so happy you're here. And I really want to talk to you about this case because there are a lot of things that upset me about the murder of PnB Rock. First, you take a young artist, a young man at the cusp of greatness in his career. And, you know, he liked to show his success by wearing his jewelry. And this was a crime of opportunity. And there's a second crime here. You know, a man has lost his life and there must be justice for that. But then the way people blamed his girlfriend and the way she then blamed herself, you're going to see the police videos. It's awful.
Yeah, vicious. I mean, not only was this an up-and-comer, he named himself after the streets, the really rough streets that he grew up in. He had a very difficult childhood. He lost his father to murder. He lost his brother. So this is somebody who was really a rising success story and was supporting those around him. And it is a incalculable loss to not just his family, but to the community that loved and supported him. So it's such a tragedy. And the way his girlfriend has been vilified is so cruel. And honestly, this crime happened irregardless of that post. And in fact, that post had nothing to do with it. This crime was set in motion long before she posted that picture of the chicken and the waffles. There's no bling in the there's no bling in the pictures. This is sort of a neighborhood joint.
Oh, we all, if you are from Los Angeles, you have taken your children to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles a million times.
And it's not like people go there to be a celebrity. They go there to eat food and to hang out with the locals. And what's so sad about this case is it was actually a local that had gone to Roscoe's many times that actually set up the murder.
Oh, it is so horrific. And we'll be able to reveal new details now because the murder case is now completed. Of course, the shooter, the 17-year-old accused shooter here, has not gone to trial. That's a complicated thing we're going to discuss.
I want to talk about it when we have time because it's interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
It's the politics and the dynamics behind it have changed considerably.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let's we'll get into the first part and then we'll go into that.
So we want to make sure that we clearly place the blame here on those who are responsible for the murder of 30-year-old PnB Rock, whose real name is Rakim Allen. So he was shot to death in broad daylight at this institution, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, on September 12th of 2022. It was lunchtime. It was lunchtime.
Yeah.
Now, as part of the True Crime News investigation, we have obtained the surveillance video of the murder, of the holdup that turned into a murder, plus the police interview of his girlfriend. Police interviewed his girlfriend at the time, and she was trying to get into the ambulance with Rakim, and police pulled her away because they didn't know she was a witness. They didn't know what role, if any, and the internet, right? And the social media is blowing up saying it was her fault because she had posted something. So everyone's trying to figure everything out in real time. So now we have access to her police interview, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
I started crying when I was listening to her because any one of us could be alone, not knowing what the heck has just happened.
Finding out from friends on her phone, I'm so sorry for your loss. That's how she's learning that the love of her life is deceased. And then the police tell her, yes, in fact, he's passed away. And not only is she just shocked and devastated, she actually makes the statement, "This is my fault." Awful.
Just horrible. And we want to set this record straight. We really do. So his girlfriend, 33-year-old Stephanie Sibunhung, it's so painful because she is traumatized. She is a witness to a murder. She was held up as well. Her jewelry was taken. But then you see how she's further traumatized by social media in real time during this police interview. So I want to show you just a short clip here where she's talking about how she's blaming herself.
I feel like it's all my fault. It's all it. We were about to get married.
Like I said, Alison, I started to get very upset.
Oh, it was so sad. It was so sad. It was awful. It was awful.
Awful.
And she had, in fact, told him not to wear the jewelry.
Yes. And he said no, he wanted to wear his jewelry.
Yeah.
That it was in God's hands.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so heartbreaking. Now, when we first released our investigation on True Crime News, the television show, again, we wanted to set the record straight, and this podcast is a much deeper conversation. But I do want to say one thing before we go on. I really want to say thank you to the Shade Room and Billboard Magazine for sharing my reporting and supporting this movement of forgiveness and understanding on social media. The very place that condemned this woman is now calling for sympathy, kindness, forgiveness, and setting the record straight. It's just like been on fire on all these different sites. And I want to thank them because we all need to be part of this apology.
I mean, this not only was it not her fault, she asked her she said, don't wear it. Don't wear it. No need to wear your jewelry. She was worried about him. And his response is, it's in God's hands. So, And then she's held up at gunpoint. So now I do not blame, and I do want to briefly talk about this. It is very typical in a murder investigation if someone is a percipient eyewitness to immediately interview them, right? So you want to get their immediate reaction to try and identify the culprit. You also want to know their involvement. You want to know whether they were part of it. And so while it seemed horribly cruel that they separated her from being in the ambulance, that really is fairly common. And it wasn't meant to cause pain to her. That is part of their investigation. It's the social media aspect where they're saying, how could you do this? How could you post your location when in reality, this murder was going to happen with or without the pictures of those chicken and waffles, period, end of story. These men had every intention to rob and steal from them, basically at all costs.
Mm-hmm. If you're ever worried about the safety of your home and family, there is no better time to act. Right now, you can get 60% off a new Simply Safe security system. Their best deal of the year, Simply Safe, is the home security I trust. I've been using it for years and love the peace of mind that it brings knowing my home is protected 24/7. Now, our True Crime News listeners can get 60% off today by just visiting simplysafe.com/truecrime. It doesn't matter where I am. Simply Safe helps me feel safe. One of the things I really like is how easy it is to set up and use the system. Plus, Simply Safe helps stop intruders before they break into your home. Unlike old school systems that only take action once someone is already inside your home, Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone is lurking around or acting suspiciously, those agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, even call police before they've had a chance to break in. Plus, there are no long-term contracts, no cancellation fees, and it's about $1 a day for all of this protection. Simply Safe is offering True Crime News listeners exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can get 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/truecrime. That's simplysafe.com/truecrime. There's no safe like Simply Safe. So these are the facts of the case. 5 people have been charged in the murder of PnB Rock, including a father and son duo who police say carried out the murder. The LAPD says the son, who was 17 at the time, has not been named. He is a minor, still being treated as a minor, was the shooter, and that his father orchestrated the whole thing, drove the getaway car, and hatched this plot with a man who was inside the restaurant. So the father, Freddie Trone, 42, convicted of murder this summer and sentenced to 31 years to life. Freddie orchestrated the armed robbery for the rapper's jewelry, then allegedly sent his 17-year-old son with a gun to do the dirty work. The son, again charged here, has not gone to trial, was wearing a ski mask, according to authorities. And there's video, you can see him running towards there in the strip mall area. So what we also want to make clear is another key component here is the person who is seen fist bumping PnB Rock as he walks into the restaurant. That man, Tremont Jones, is the one who spotted the rapper.
I want to talk about him for a minute. Okay. He actually has gotten 12 years, which is a freaking gift. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe that he actually orchestrated it. I believe that he has that fist bump. Then you see video of him. He is the one that contacts Freddie Trone. So he's putting this in motion. I mean, he is not a minor player in this. He is setting up this conspiracy to rob the rapper. And he sort of very much contributes to the ultimate death of the rapper. And so I am surprised that he got 12 years. Okay, he got 12 years. But if they really wanted to prosecute him. And this is one of the things that we're going to talk about the Gascon changing to Hochman, the DA, the policy changes that will be made. This could have been filed as a felony murder where Tremont Jones could have been charged with the murder, because by definition, if you conspire with someone to commit a felony, which would have been the robbery, and the natural and probable consequence of which is the death of that person that you're robbing, which in a case where you are holding a gun to somebody and you are taking their jewelry, there is a strong likelihood that that person gets shot and dies. You can be charged with the murder of the intended target of the robbery. So I think that Tremont Jones got a gift here that he may not have gotten if there were different DA policies at the time.
Oh, I agree. And for those of you who are not from LA County, so we've just had an election here, and there's going to be a change in prosecutors, and that change is going to happen on December 2nd. So Gascon is the outgoing DA who has been extremely liberal with his policies, very progressive. And Nathan Hochman, the incoming district attorney, appears to be more of what we would say a law and order kind of person.
Right. I mean, I think he's going to be a little bit more down the line. Like, I don't think that he believes in mass incarceration, but I think that he is going to change some of the rules that Gascon has put in place. For example, including gang enhancements, which Gascon has not done. Firearm enhancements, treating those smash and grabs as felonies that need to be prosecuted. And additionally, dealing with juveniles, how is he going to treat juveniles, where Gascon had a very hard and fast rule that if you were under 18 at the time of the crime, you were not going to be charged as an adult. So I think that that's going to affect this juvenile in this case who has yet to be found to be competent to stand trial. So we're going to have to watch for that one, because that may change substantially too, because right now he's being treated as a juvenile. I don't know if that will be the case once Hochman takes office.
Right, because that case has not moved forward. It is stalled for those two reasons.
Yeah.
It's been determined he's not competent to stand trial, which of course I would say, what father would put a gun in the hands of a child that is unstable?
And I will say, I'm going to say, in the defense of this minor, if he has been declared incompetent to stand trial on multiple occasions, because I'm very familiar with the mental health system in Los Angeles, where you're declared incompetent to stand trial, you're sent to the mental health court, and this has been a prolonged time that they have found him incompetent. There is some validity here that he did suffer from some mental illnesses or mental challenges. And you're right, this father, Freddie Trone, who, by the way, when the son and the wife get arrested, how does Freddie react? He takes off with his girlfriend, goes to Las Vegas, and is like, what? It's my wife and my son. It's not me. I mean, so talk about like worst parenting ever, right? He takes off. He is arrested later with the girlfriend, but there is some evidence here, just by looking at the amount of time that he has remained incompetent, that the minor may in fact been suffering from mental disease, mental defect, had some kind of, developmental delays. And it makes it even worse.
Yes, absolutely. Because when you look at the surveillance video, the security video from inside, there is not a lot of time from the moment the gunman with the, ski mask points the gun at Rakim. It is seconds from the time he says, give me your jewelry, until he shoots him, not even giving Rakim a minute to take something off and hand it to him.
In fact, there's pictures of these the massive diamond emblem that is bloody on the floor. He didn't even get the jewelry. He didn't even get the jewelry that he was after. So that, this story is so tragic, but I want to note that, yes, Freddie Trone uses his son, but Tremont Jones got the deal of the lifetime in my mind that he only got 12 years.
And he was convicted on charges of robbery and conspiracy, not murder.
Right. And I think that he could have been charged under the felony murder rule, or as a conspirator in the actual murder. So I think that he got the deal of a lifetime, and he probably should be thanking his lucky stars that his case was resolved while Gascon was still in office.
Yeah, absolutely. So why was PnB Rock? Why was he in LA? Because he didn't live in LA. So he and his fiancée had come into town because they went to an engagement party for fellow rapper T Grizzly. And T Grizzly posted some pictures on Instagram of him and his friends at the party. And then there's this one that's amazing. It's all close-ups of everybody's hand with the diamond watches. I mean, there's a lot of diamonds going on there. So clearly whoever was in town had some serious bling on. And the next day is when, this happens. And what's interesting is that Stephanie, the girlfriend, said, this is how they ended up at the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. They had gone to see Rakim's probation officer. He was on parole, and he just had to check in. So that's what put them in the neighborhood. And then they were headed to the airport. They were hungry, and then they decided to stop at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And there are several of them in town. And this one would be one of the smaller ones, so really you shouldn't expect much to be going on there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, look, I am going to say this. And here's my pushback on social media with the girlfriend had nothing to do with this murder. Okay. The girlfriend and her posting the pictures of the chicken and the waffles. But there is a lesson to be learned from the picture from the night before. You've got to be very, very careful when you are showing that much jewelry and then geotagging where you are, because there are so many predators out there that follow you, that follow the Instagram posts, that know that wherever you're going to be, there is going to be expensive stuff for the taking. So I want to separate out the fact that she really had nothing to do with this murder at all. Her post was very innocuous. There was no jewelry. It was basically chicken and waffles, and that this was in motion well before that was taken. But also a cautionary tale, not just for celebrities, but for people that do wear fancy jewelry. Be careful where you are posting pictures of yourself, because there are predators out there willing to track you and prey on you wherever you go. I mean, we've heard a lot in Los Angeles, Anna, about people following, nice cars and wealthy people back to their homes from dinner and then robbing them at gunpoint. So that is a cautionary tale that I think people should listen to. That is, be mindful that if you're posting things and people are watching you, they may be watching you for all the wrong reasons.
And Rakim had done an interview the week before his murder, I believe with DJ Academics. And what was so interesting about this interview is that Rakim was talking about how he never felt safe in LA. He came from the streets of Philadelphia, and several of his quotes were like, man, the gangsters in LA are bold. And he was recounting how he was just going shopping on Fairfax, which is, where all like the really hip, shops are, the sneakers that you line up for, 3 days early, that's where it is in LA. And how he just stepped out of a car, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by people. And he was asked, like, why don't you have security? Because a lot of celebrities will have security. He's like, no, I got this covered, basically saying I'm caring. And He also said in this interview, I keep a really low profile life, meaning I don't do a lot of celebrity stuff. I really kind of am a homebody, stay home with Stephanie, raise our daughter. And I come out for a few things, but I'm not the one who's going to be in the club all night. And really, if you look at his social media footprint, that's not where you're going to find him.
Right. Right.
So how sad is it that basically you have a rapper who's a homebody,
Yeah. Awful.
Awful. And gets killed at a luncheon place that, is not fancy.
Yeah, correct.
So let's get back to the timeline now. So they enter the restaurant at 12:28 p.m. And that's when the co-conspirator in this case, Tremont Jones, does that fist bump. And that triggers this deadly plot. Right there, the inciting incident is the fist bump. Moments later, that man is seen outside with his buddy, Freddie Trone, the dad in this case. It's busy in the restaurant. Like, it's not packed. The restaurant's not packed.
But they're known for the slower service. I mean, they are great. The food is outstanding. If you're wanting the fast food, you're not going there. I mean, They are going to take their time getting you your meal.
And they did. And one thing, though, Alison, when I interviewed the prosecutor in this case, he said to me that he was always very suspicious about how long that food took, as if
they were giving him time.
Right. As if. Couldn't prove anything, just said he was suspicious.
I appreciate what he's saying. But it does take a long time to get your food there.
It does. For those of us who eat there. Absolutely. So it was about 40 minutes later from the time they walked in that they received their food. That is a long time, right? Usually, you figure you're going to get served within like 20 minutes. So 40 minutes later, and that's when Stephanie posts her picture. But in those 40 minutes, Alison, is when everything is happening outside and around them, having nothing to do with the posting of the photo.
I've said this on your show before, but it bears repeating. In this day and age, between cell phone towers and video surveillance, you are literally spotted everywhere you go, almost at all times, on some video surveillance. There was some incredible statistic that like every day, each of us is on film somewhere over 200 times. So there is I know that's a scary figure, right?
Yeah.
But the idea that you can get away with a crime these days with new DNA testing, but surveillance video that literally tracks your whereabouts, which is what happened here. I mean, you have video footage of them going outside and Tremont Jones talking to Freddie. Then you have the assailant coming in on video footage. Then you have them leaving the neighborhood. It is very, very difficult to get away with a crime.
Absolutely. And it didn't really take that long for authorities to figure it out, but there were a lot of spinning plates all at once because of I will say it was a diversion. The social media post was a diversion in the investigation that had to be looked into. So the couple finally gets their food. And like you said, there was no reference about jewelry. She didn't even say that she was with PnB Rock. So, and that post, again, could have been at any time, but nonetheless, it was geotagged at that specific location. At 1:16 p.m., the masked gunman enters the restaurant, as we said, asks for the jewelry, but doesn't even give Rakim a second to turn it over, shoots him. Everyone's running out of the restaurant. Stephanie said that he also put a gun to her because she had an AP watch on. Rakim had 2 watches on. And again, a total of $500,000 in jewelry. So when he shoots Rakim, then he tries to grab his chains and his jewelry off of him. Doesn't get it all. And they have never found the stolen jewelry, and they have never found the murder weapon. My suspicion is, Alison, there may have been others involved here. These two, Mr. Fist Bump and the dad who blames his kid, they just don't seem sophisticated enough to pull this off.
I don't know. I don't think there's enough evidence for me. You know, I'm a lawyer, so I'm a lawyer, so I'm always like, look, I want to be very mindful of, you know, is there going to be enough evidence to accuse? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that Freddie Trone burns his car.
Yeah.
I mean, he burns his car.
Crazy.
They throw away. There's video surveillance of them throwing away the miner's clothing that he's wearing that day. He's in different clothing. He's wearing this Fruity Pebbles t-shirt. So there's a lot of places that murder weapon could have gone along the way. And we have video evidence that he's throwing things away. We have video evidence that they're burning up the car that they used. So the extent that they went to cover this crime, I would not be surprised if in one of those bags and one of the murder weapon was there. That's just
possible.
me.
Right. And, you know, but it goes to when I say, I mean, clearly not a sophisticated operation here. You see the getaway car, which of course is registered to
The wife.
to the wife. Hello.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you set that car on fire, but it belongs to your wife.
This was a crime of opportunity. I mean, understand that even though they had 40 minutes to plan it, this was a guy comes in, he's wearing all the jewelry. The fist bump is so interesting to me because the fist bump signifies to me that he is observing all the jewelry that's being worn. Okay. And then he's like, look, we got this guy here who's got nearly $500,000 worth of jewelry on. Guys, let's get him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is just, it's so horrible. It just really, really upsets me. So back to the timeline. So remember, 1:16, the gunman comes in. By 1:22, officers have already arrived on the scene. Paramedics are getting PnB Rock to a hospital. As we said, Stephanie tried to get in. She's being pulled away. She's being taken to the police station for further questioning. And this next part also upset me. I know that police had to figure out what was going on, but you know, she doesn't live here and she doesn't have really like family here. So Stephanie is in this room. I mean, I guess we could call it an interrogation room.
It's an interrogation room. I mean, let's be clear.
Let's be clear, right? And so they want her phone. Police want her phone. And she's begging them not to take her phone. And she also is begging them not to leave her alone in this room because she is so frightened. Yeah. And it is here where my heart was broken for the fear of this human being who has just witnessed something so horrific and is so scared. Let's play the clip.
Please don't take my phone.
We're going to take it. Okay.
Please don't take my phone.
We're going to have to.
No, please don't leave me here with no phone. Please. So y'all just going to leave me here by myself after I'm already going through all of this? Like, and I'm here by myself. Like I feel like I'm in jail. Like, well, you can leave my phone. Can you stay in here with me?
I can't stay in here with you.
That just is so heartbreaking, Alison. They're trying to figure everything out through her phone. Right. She voluntarily gave it to them. Right. So it did take some time. Right. It was just, gosh, it was just so horrific. So then the questioning continues. She's asking what's going on with Rakim. And they say they're waiting for the lead investigator. So she is being told through text messages and social media, one, it's your fault. And two, condolences for your loss. And she's like, what? Is he dead? But police have not confirmed this yet. So here she is. Here's the part of the interview where Stephanie is describing getting the food, the post, how quickly the gunman came in, and when she says that she feels like it's her fault.
We got our food, and I took a picture. Mm-hmm. I took a picture of the chicken and waffles. Like 5 minutes later, they came up in there. Because my sister called me. She was like, "They saying it's your fault because you posted the location." I'm like, "All right." She's like, "You need to take that down right now." I feel like it's all my fault. Like it all happened so fast. I really don't remember. As soon as they walked in, they shot him.
Okay.
As soon as he walked in, he pointed the gun at his stomach. He said, "Give me all that, or I'll shoot you right now." And he just started shooting him. Tried to take all it. He took his rings off, his necklaces off. He took his 2 watches off, and he made me take my watch off. He said, give me that and I swear to God, I'll shoot you in the head.
So Alison, while Stephanie is recounting what happened from her perspective and they're going through her phone, the real killers in this case are covering their tracks.
Yeah.
And as you said, the burning of the car.
And doing things that are clearly disposing of critical evidence, that are clearly trying to go undetected, all the while allowing the girlfriend of the man that she has just seen murdered in front of her to take the heat. I mean, she's taking the heat. She's in an interrogation room being questioned, where they're going through her phone, and they are busy throwing out the clothes, changing clothes, burning vehicles, and doing everything they can so that they will go undetected.
So Freddie Trone's black Buick Enclave is the one that was seen in the surveillance as the getaway car, is the car that belongs to his wife, is set on fire, and then he, the dad, goes with his girlfriend, gets his girlfriend to drive him to Las Vegas. Is this man despicable? Wife, girlfriend?
So not only does he enlist the help of what could be his mentally ill son in the killing, okay? Not only that, but then knowing that his wife and his son are arrested for the crime that he has set up, he is with his girlfriend in Las Vegas. Not a care in the world.
Unbelievable. And, the mother, according to authorities, her role in all this was harboring her son, right? And being perhaps part of the cover up. But to take off with your girlfriend, it's just, this guy is, really, honestly. Ugh, God, I can't. I can't with this one. So, yes, Freddie Trone, this despicable person, asks his girlfriend, Wynesha Evans, to get him to Las Vegas. Eventually, authorities catch up with him. They arrest him. The son's arrested. Others are arrested. Like we said, 5 charged here. Meanwhile, I just want to go back to Stephanie's police interview, because she's being told really unofficially through social media that Rakim is dead. But the police have not told her exactly that yet. But the moment they do tell her, it's recorded. So here is the horrible, painful moment when police confirm to her that Rakim is dead.
What is the media saying? Is he okay?
He's dead.
He was alright. We were about to get married.
It's awful. It is just awful to watch her pain like that. And how is she going to explain this to their daughter? Exactly. How?
It is just, it is the worst news that you can ever get, right? It's the worst you can ever get.
She just had such a rough time of it. So on August 7th of 2024, Freddie Trone was found guilty of first-degree murder, robbery, and conspiracy. The jury took less than 4 hours to deliberate and reach this conclusion. Tremont Jones, fist bump man, was convicted on charges of robbery and conspiracy. Chantel Trone, this would be the mom, pleaded no contest to accessory after the fact. And Wynesha Evans, the girlfriend, pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact on September 23rd.
I throw in a little bit of law there.
Oh, yeah.
So this is important. So in California, it's a PC 32. There is a big difference between being an accessory before the crime and an accessory after the fact, right? So the after the fact is helping conceal the evidence, hiding the person, moving the person. They are much less culpable. They're much less culpable than being an accessory to the commission of the crime. So, and that's an important distinction. So for both these ladies, the accessory after the fact is a wobbler, which means it can be charged as a misdemeanor or a felony, and the maximum you can receive on an accessory after the fact is 3 years in the state prison, unless there are some statutes where it can be held up to 4 years in the state prison. But I just want to acknowledge that for these two women, they were never accused in the planning or plotting of the crime, just the assistance after the fact.
An important distinction. On September 23rd of 2024, Freddie was sentenced to 31 years to life for his role in all of this. He, of course, is saying that he's appealing all of this. It's not fair. I didn't pull the trigger, blah, blah, blah. It's my son's fault. The son is now 19. He still remains in the juvenile system, and he is undergoing treatment to try and see if they can regain mental stability for him. We do not know the outcome of that. We've already discussed what's going to happen under the new DA. Stephanie did testify in this trial, which was not easy, obviously, after everything that she had gone through.
Right.
And Rakim's, the show, True Crime News, reached out to Rakim's mother and brother, and they both have said that they feel finally that justice has been served. They did not participate with us in the investigation. They say that they're working on their own project to talk about this and share their grief. And of course, we hope that they find the path that is best for them and their family to share this horrific story and to memorialize their precious Rakim. Just really, it's just so sad. It's just a horrific story.
Yeah, it's awful. It's a really, really sad story. And no matter how much time these people get, right? So no matter whether or not Freddie Trone gets 31 to life or Tremont Jones gets 12 years, we don't know what's going to happen to the juvenile yet. Nothing is going to bring back this beloved human being. And it was done over money. It was done over jewelry. And so senseless. A life is lost over money.
Yeah. Okay, Alison, now I want to talk about the Menendez brothers. Okay, so explain to all of us how you know them.
So, 35 years ago, I was in high school at Calabasas High School with Eric Menendez. Eric is the younger of the two brothers. Eric and I attended the same classes. Eric was extremely bright. Eric is someone that I studied with. We were both on the tennis team. Eric at the time, and these are my personal opinions and my observations of him, was arrogant. He was a spoiled rich kid. He was cocky. But at the same time, I did observe on multiple occasions his father, Jose Menendez, be really cruel to him on the tennis court and off of the tennis court. He was belittling. He humiliated him. He berated him. And he came across as a very cold-hearted, cruel tiger dad. I mean, he was somebody that insulted his son. If his son missed a shot, he went crazy. He was what that dad that we all cringe at and say, oh my God, that poor kid, if this happens in public, what the heck goes on in private? Now, that is not to say that I was in their bedroom and know that he was molested. What I am saying is that he was certainly verbally abusive to him. I have no doubt that he was physically abusive to him, but he was not a nice man. His son was also extremely arrogant and extremely cocky.
Wow. And Eric went to your house. You guys studied together.
So I shared a really unbelievable story with you that I will share with your audience. Eric was really bright, and we took classes together, and on one occasion we were studying for an exam. And at the time, my dad was a psychiatrist, and he would work late hours. So my mom would make dinner for him, and this is, in the late 80s. And she would leave one of those 1980s microwave, sort of see-through black shields over the plate to keep it warm for my dad for when he would get home. And it was clearly earmarked for him. It was set aside from the rest of the food in the kitchen. And that's food for somebody else. So one night, Eric comes over. We're all studying in the den. When he comes to join us, I learn that he has taken the microwave shield off of the plate and eaten my dad's entire dinner. My dad, a psychiatrist, Anna, a psychiatrist, well known in the community, says, what type of sociopath, this is before the killings, what type of sociopath would take somebody else's dinner, not ask for permission, and just say, well, it's here for the taking, it belongs to me, and called him a sociopath way before the killings ever took place.
Wow.
In addition, Eric and his brother were involved in 2 burglaries in our immediate area that led to them moving to Beverly Hills. So on one occasion, they broke into the home of one of their dearest friends and stole from him. And on another occasion, one of them set up a date with a girl that we went to school with, while the other one burglarized her home. So these were not choir boys. These were not good kids. Now, is it a result of the abuse, sexual, physical, emotional, whatever that they were suffering at home? Maybe. But to say, for anyone to rewrite history and say that these were 2 really great kids, that in fact is not true. I have firsthand knowledge that in fact is not true. And then my other really sort of interesting, memorable experience was very soon after the death, before the suspects in the case or had been arrested in the case, a group of us went to a local yogurt shop to console Eric. And we were struck. I definitely was struck by the fact that he didn't express any sadness, that he talked about all of his cars and his watches and his money and going to Israel, where he was going to practice with this professional in Israel to become a professional tennis player. And I went home and I told my father, who had called him a sociopath in the past, I said, it's just so strange to me that he really wasn't that sad. Both his parents were just killed. And my dad said, well, people express grief differently, and you really can't define how someone handles grief. And I said, yes, but it just seemed so strange to me that he really wasn't sad.
Wow, that is just incredible. So, Alison, the fact that you are this famed criminal defense attorney, so where would you have been in your career when they get arrested and then the trials begin?
Okay, so this is what is to me, right? So I'm in my freshman year of college. I'm at Tulane. I'm in my freshman year at college when they're accused, they're arrested. Leslie Abramson takes the scene, and she is a well-known, very, very highly respected, take no prisoners defense attorney. And I watch these really arrogant boys turn into boys that are wearing sweater vests, that would have never been caught dead wearing these sweater vests, sitting in front of a jury. And I hear about the defense that they have been abused. Again, I am not in their bedroom, so I don't know if their sexual abuse have taken place. But I think about the fact, and I've thought about this a lot since this has reemerged, that in the time that I went to college and graduated, went to law school and graduated, started my own law practice, got married, had 3 children, have been blessed with all of these good fortunes of being on your show and being affiliated with KTLA so closely, and being on Access Daily, Eric Menendez has sat in the same jail cell for all of those 35 years, never experiencing one bit of the life experiences that I have, and that I knew him, and that his life trajectory, he was so incredibly bright, could have mirrored mine in so many ways, but instead he has sat in prison. And by the way, rightfully so. I mean, this was a heinous, heinous premeditated crime. I know that there is a huge social media following about releasing him, and that many, many family members have come out and said, okay, 35 years is enough. They should be out. But the crime itself, you cannot take away the brutality, the viciousness, the fact that Lyle went back out to his car, reloaded the shotgun, and shot his mother in the face. These are brutal, brutal crimes. Now, is 35 years enough? Is 35 years enough? Well, I think that that's really the debate that people are having now. But, and, you know, there is this newly discovered evidence that they've brought this habeas petition. Do I think that's enough to overcome the burden to get a new trial? The newly discovered evidence is this declaration that was written by one of the Menudo boys, saying that he was also the subject of Jose Menendez's sexual abuse. It's around the same time period. The experience is similar in that it's done in their New Jersey home, that he's told not to say anything, that that this man can destroy his career. You know, he comes out years and years later. The letter that is found in Andy Cano's belongings that was allegedly written 8 months before the murder
By Eric.
By Eric, which says, I'm still suffering, you know, it's still going on, I'm still suffering. That is credible to me. That is credible to me because it is written 8 months before the crime. Is that enough to get them a new trial? But what I'm really interested in is the resentencing and what it means, and this request for clemency from the governor, and what it means now that there is a new DA in office. I mean, Anna, things are changing around here very quickly. I mean, we're going from somebody who was very much pro-justice reform to somebody who literally campaigned on the fact of, I am not going to be soft on crime. I am not going to be soft on crime. So is he going to make one of the most major first decisions in his career as DA? Is he going to go along with his sentencing recommendation as one of his first acts and release people who admitted to brutally murdering their parents? This is an interesting question.
Well, the timing of it is, you know, it's very, very tight here. So the new DA, Nathan Hochman, takes over December 2nd. The hearing for the sentencing reduction from the prior DA is scheduled for December 11th. Now, he has said, he's told us at True Crime News, he's told everyone, look, I need to go through the case file, the stuff that's not public. I need to see it all. I need to review it. I need to figure out, you know, what is the right thing to do? And so the question is, can he get that done in 9 days?
That's not happening. That's not happening. And I'm going to throw in some law since thankfully I'm a lawyer and I want to throw in some law here. Okay. So he cannot summarily withdraw the resentencing request. Okay. There is a 2023 very recent case, California appellate case, where a new DA comes in and they essentially withdraw the resentencing request from their predecessor. Okay? The court says, look, you cannot do that. You can withdraw it, but you must have a legitimate reason to do so. And they go on to say that a district attorney cannot withdraw its recommendation on a whim or due to a change in the political winds that is not consistent with the law's purpose. So there is case law here that says yes, if Nathan Hochman re-reviews the case and he says, I'm not comfortable with it because of X, Y, and Z, he can withdraw the request. But what Nathan Hochman has said is, I don't yet, until I become the DA, I don't yet have access to those thousands of pages of prison files, of trial transcripts. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to the district attorneys who were really in the know at the time. And some of George Gascon's own district attorneys opposed this resentencing.
It's like half the office is against it. Half of the assistant district attorneys are against this release and reduction in sentence.
And so one of the things that Nathan Hochman has very clearly said is, one of the things that I want to do is I want their input. I want to hear what they have to say about the case. I want to independently review this case because I'm ultimately going to make that decision. And in addition, the Beverly Hills Police Department, who are the ones that investigated this case, they said, George Gascon never talked to us about what we thought about this case. And we know that the first DA who tried the case, who the first trial that ended in the hung jury, she is very, very, very much opposed. She has publicly come out and said, there is no way that these guys should ever be released.
Yeah, she's in the Netflix documentary. For those of you who have seen the documentary, not the docuseries, the drama, but she is quite vocal on that.
Yeah.
So, Alison, I have a few.
By the way, you do have 20 members of the Menendez family who have come out as victims under Marsy's Law. And Marsy's Law, for viewers that don't know, are that the family members of victims of the crimes have a right to be heard. And interestingly, although not all of them, so you have Kitty's brother who's saying that they should never get out, but a large majority of the Menendez family wants them out and has said very publicly, enough is enough. Our family has suffered enough. They have spent 35 years in prison. They have served their time. We want them out.
So 2 more questions here. So because so many people feel that the second trial was, the first set of trials hung jury, and they were able to introduce the sexual abuse as the defense. In the second trial, that information was very restricted to the point that they really couldn't introduce fully. Right?
Their defense was gutted.
And, my feeling is it is part of I'm not saying it excuses in any way, please. 2 lives have been lost here. But what I'm saying is they didn't get a fair chance to tell their version.
Look, in our criminal justice system, this, there are 2 sides to every pancake. And the defense has to have the defense deserves an opportunity to have their case presented. Now, remember, this is a very different time, okay? So this is a time where this is 35 years ago, where sexual abuse, and the DA at the time said, well, men can't be raped. Okay, so we know that things have changed in that sense.
Oh my God. You know what, Alison, I hate to interrupt this one thing because this breaks my heart. I looked back at, if we just go back to that time, 30 years ago, SNL was making jokes about the Menendez brothers being abused.
Yeah.
Comedians made fun of them.
Yeah.
It was a horrible time. There's still not a lot of compassion for male victims of sexual abuse.
I absolutely agree. And I also want to talk about the sort of political climate at the DA's office at the time. So the Menendez brothers is a huge case. The first trial is a huge case. It's televised. There's 2 juries. Both juries hang. Pretty evenly, by the way, in terms of women versus men. Women do not want to find these boys guilty. Men do. Okay, so that's interesting. And this is not just 12 people who can't agree. This is 24 people who cannot agree. This is when the they are allowed to bring in 50 essentially defense witnesses that say that they had seen some type of abuse. They're allowed to introduce expert testimony. Lyle did himself no favors in speaking about how, yes, he was very convincing. Yes, he was willing to lie. He said that on a phone call after the fact. It also comes on the heels. So this was a big loss for the DA's office. Then it comes on the heels of the biggest loss, which is the O.J. Simpson acquittal. And they are tried in the second trial only 8 days after the O.J. Simpson acquittal. So the judge and the DA's office has a lot of pressure. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on them to get a conviction here. So they then gut the defense, essentially. They only have one jury. Lyle cannot testify because he's going to be impeached on what he said on those recorded phone calls. And even though Leslie Abramson stays on as the attorney for Eric, Lyle's attorney is replaced by a public defender, and Leslie is sort of cut off at the knees by arguing the things that she argued the last time. So their defense is severely, severely limited. Some people will say that they were not given a fair trial, but it has gone through the appellate system. They have exhausted all of their appellate issues. They have exhausted their appellate issues. So they do have this this habeas on newly discovered evidence. They also have this resentencing issue, and they have the government clemency issue, and whether Governor Newsom is going to grant them clemency, which they have asked for. Governor Newsom has granted essentially 141 clemency type issues. But what he has done for most of them is he has stamped it with his approval, but then he has sent it to the parole board for the parole board to make the ultimate decision. And Anna, in a lot of these cases, that means that these people stay in custody for much longer than if he would just grant immediate clemency and they'd be released. It takes months or even up to a year to be heard. And I think there's like 40 people who he has essentially granted clemency to, but wants it to go through the parole board process that are still sitting in custody. So not only are they not going to be out for Thanksgiving, they're not coming out for Christmas either. I mean, that is my opinion. And it has been assigned to a judge, someone that I have known for 25 plus years. He is one of the best, most fair, most reasonable, most thoughtful judges in all of Los Angeles County. He is not going to be swayed by political winds. He is not going to be told what to do. He's going to be thorough. He's going to do what I believe, given the law and the facts, he thinks is the right thing. So do the Menendez brothers still have a chance at release? Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Do they have a chance at release? Yes. Is their record in prison commendable? Absolutely. And I want to talk about that because a lot of times prisoners will behave well in prison knowing that they're going to have a parole hearing where their behavior will be looked at. Well, they were sentenced to LWOP, which is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So one can very genuinely argue that they did this knowing that they would never get a chance to be heard in front of a parole board, so that they actually have been reformed. 35 years is a long time in prison. Yeah. And they have done a lot while they are there. They have done a lot of rehabilitative efforts. They've started clubs. They've started support groups. They have done a lot to help the inmate community. And in fact, two of the guards, two of the prison officials have written letters on their behalf saying, I would welcome them as neighbors into my community. So are they a danger? The question is, are they currently a danger? Most people would say, no, they're not. But was the facts of their case so heinous that they don't deserve to be released? So this is an amazingly interesting case. Obviously, it is one that I'm so familiar with because I've known Eric Menendez for years and years, went to high school with him, and have followed the case closely. Do I know how it's going to end? I don't. I do know that Hochman's going to take his time to review everything. I do know that a hearing before the beginning of the year is extremely unlikely.
Well, there are two hearings. So, because there are three avenues that we've discussed. It's the reduction in sentencing that was recommended by, the DA. And that hearing is December 2nd. However, in this case is the habeas filing, right?
Yeah. That hearing is December 11th. So
December 11th.
Right. So the DA gets sworn in on the 2nd.
Yes.
Then 9 days later is the hearing.
But then the habeas filing, the hearing on that is for later this month, November 26th, which is the separate issue about the new evidence. Now, I know we could go on for hours about this, but there's one more thing I want to add here. The paperwork that was filed for the habeas, right, was filed in 23. And a lot of people have criticized DA Gascon and saying, if you cared so much about justice for the Menendez brothers, why did you sit on this for a year and only decide to make a call for a sentence reduction days before the election when you said you wouldn't do it before the election? Very politically motivated.
First of all, at the time, he was trailing by at least 30 points.
Well, this sure didn't pull him out of that slump.
And then the Netflix stack comes out. There's a huge media following. And I'm not inside his brain. I was not part of his campaign. But if I think there's going to be a chance that there is a movement, and there is a social media movement that including Kim Kardashian, that says, let these boys out, let these boys out. If I'm a politician wanting to hold my post, knowing I'm trailing by 30 points, do I act? I probably act.
But Alison, if he truly cared and believed that this wasn't just, I know that. Yes. This was politically motivated, in my opinion. If he truly believed that justice had not been served here, he would have been working on their release a year prior.
Well, I can tell you that Nathan Hochman went after him on that point exactly. I mean, I can tell you that we don't have to speculate what Nathan Hochman thought about it. That why he thought that he acted on it. But then I want to revert back to that case that I talked about from just a year ago, where the appellate court said you cannot withdraw a resentencing motion just based on a change of the political winds. So I do believe that Hochman is going to want to review and revisit and thoroughly vet this case before he makes a decision, which will be one of his most major public decisions after he takes office, on a platform of let's restore order and justice to Los Angeles County.
I would like to see a hearing that is transparent and is covered by the media so the public can see what is said and argued in court.
Yep.
I think transparency is imperative here. And depending on what the judge then decides, if the judge supports this and then it moves to the parole board, as long as everything is transparent and it goes through the system and ultimately they're released because so many layers have done their checks and balances, then if they are released, my next hope is, please, if you are given a second chance in this life, do good with it. Turn around and spend the rest of your life in service to those in need. That is my wish.
Great. I must say two things before I know we have to wrap up. Okay. In California, you don't automatically have a right to have cameras in the courtroom. So it's it's up to the judge. And from what I know about this judge, and I know him well, and he is beyond decent. Okay. He is not somebody that is fond of media attention. He is not a judge that wants the media attention. He loves his job. He loves listening to cases. He loves looking up the law, doing the right thing. So if you think it's someone that's going to want the media attention, Anna, it's the wrong judge, because that's not who he is.
But I'm not talking about media attention.
Strong argument. But is there a strong argument here that this is a case of such public interest that the public deserves the right to see it happen in real time and not just through print news? There's a very strong argument there. There is a very strong argument that under the First Amendment right to freedom of the press, that there should be transparency. And because this is a case with such notoriety, I mean, believe me, I want to see what's going on. I want it televised. I mean, I want it televised, but I'm unsure how the judge will treat this.
Wow. So much. Oh my gosh. Alison, I know I could talk to you for like several hours more about this, but we must end it at some point.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's see how this all turns out.
I always thank you for having me on. I love being friends with you. I love talking crime with you. I love how you're always so involved, passionate, prepared. And thanks for having me.
Oh, Alison, I could talk to you really every day. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing your high school pictures. They're precious. A little bit of humanity there in the middle of all this insanity, right?
I know.
A little bit of reality. All right. Well, we're going to...
Not judge me by my hair, the hairspray.
I'm sorry, what?
Do not judge me by my hair, my hairspray. And Anna, remember we were all seniors in high school at one point.
Mine was horrible. I had a perm. So I cannot say anything about anybody else's hair. I had a crazy perm.
Well, good. Thank God, because mine is not great.
Oh my gosh.
Eric, however, looks very handsome.
Yeah, you know what? He really does look good in the picture. Okay, Alison, where can people follow you, find you? Because you're constantly updating people and doing commentary, providing context for all these complex issues.
Right. So obviously, the law offices of Alison Triessl, obviously. I am the legal expert at KTLA, which is the local station Channel 5 in Los Angeles, part of the Nexstar family. I'm also the legal expert at Access Hollywood. And go to my website and would love to connect.
Yeah, terrific. You can find me at Anna G News. You can find this episode, all our episodes, wherever you get your podcasts. We're so easy to find now on social media. We're at My True Crime News. Don't forget, if you want to see the whole case that we covered for PnB Rock, that's also already on YouTube if you want to see the full investigation we did. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our newsletter at truecrimenews.com. So until next week, I'm your host, Ana Garcia. This is True Crime News, the podcast. See you next time, everyone.